Okay, so like I told you, section 3.4, we're going to talk about slopes of lines, and then we're going to do some things with the slopes of lines. We're going to graph a few lines, so I will pass out some graph paper if y'all don't have any when we get there. Hopefully I still have some. All right, so 2 things you need to know about the slope. There is a formula for it, which you should remember since like 7th grade. Probably you've seen this. And also the formula for the graph, which is rise over run. So for the ordered pairs, you're going to find the slope m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And for slope of a graph, you're going to use rise over run. Now, anytime you see the letter m, that is talking about the slope. I know that sounds weird that we use m for slope, but one day I was bored and I Googled it. And the reason it's m for slope is because there's some French word that means steepness of a mountain. Some French word that starts with an M that means steepness of a mountain. So that's why we use m for slope. All right, so let's talk about, we got 4 lines on this graph. 2 red ones, a blue one, and a green one. And this is just a rough sketch of a graph, so yours doesn't have to be just like mine, but kind of similar. Now, slopes can be positive, negative, 0, or undefined. Okay? A positive slope will go up from left to right. A negative slope will go down from left to right. Okay? So, which one of these lines do you think has a positive slope? C. C has a positive slope. It's going up from left to right. Which line do you think has a negative slope? B. It's going down from left to right. Now, the only 2 that we haven't talked about yet are lines A and line D. Okay? So, describe line D for me, besides that it's red. The slope is 0, right? What kind of line is that called? All lines are straight except for when I draw them because I can't draw straight lines. Slanted lines are even straight, just not when I draw them because I can't draw perfect. I'm a bad drawer. What kind of line is this? It's going left to right, right? What kind of line goes left to right? Horizontal. Okay, so D has a slope of 0 and is horizontal. So anytime you have a horizontal line, the slope will be 0. So what can you tell me about line A? It's vertical. What's the slope of a vertical line? Well, if it's vertical, it's completely up and down. Can you measure how steep it is if it's perfectly up and down? No, you can't measure how steep vertical is because it's perfectly steep. All right? So we call the slope undefined. So vertical line slopes are undefined. So if they go up from left to right, they're a positive slope. Down from left to right, it's a negative slope. A horizontal line has a slope of 0. A vertical line has an undefined slope. And one reason I can remember that is U and V go together in the alphabet. Right? QRSTUV. Right? Right? U and V go together. Oh. It's not wrong. Okay. Vertical. Yeah, some of y'all put VERTICLE. It's funny. Good thing I don't count off for spelling. All right. Number 1. They're going to give us 2 points. Not a graph, but 2 points. And we want to find the slope of that line. we find the slope of a line that goes through 2 points when I just know the 2 points? Very good. Now, y'all, all of us came out of Algebra 1. This is something you knew even before you were in Algebra 1. Like 7th grade and 8th grade. So you've seen slopes for many math classes. So when I'm talking about those y's and x's, what am I talking about? Where do I get these y's and x's from? From the points, right? The ordered pairs. Now, guys, I've been preaching to my Algebra 1 kids. If you can't plug into the formula correctly, your slopes are not going to be corrected. If your slopes are not correct, you're not going to get anything correct when it comes to these things. All right? So let's label them. They give you a point. You got an x and a y, right? In that order. Every point is x and then y. Okay, so I'm labeling them. Now, if they're in the first ordered pair, those are the ones. If you're in the second ordered pair, those are the twos. Okay? The first ordered pair are the ones, second ordered pair is the twos. Now you're going to plug them into that formula. Okay? What number is my y2 number? 2. And you're going to put a minus there every single time. It don't matter if the next sign is a negative. You're going to put a minus there, okay? What is your y1 number? 4. Over, what is your x2 number? And then you're going to put a minus there no matter what. And what is your x1 number? Any questions about how I plug those in? Okay. So, simplify. What is 2 minus 4? Over what is 8 minus 6? Positive 2. And then you simplify. What is negative 2 divided by positive 2 reduced to? Negative 1. So the slope between these two lines is negative 1. Okay? So label your x's and y's, put 1s and 2s, plug it in the formula. That's it. And then you subtract and simplify. Okay. Important stuff right here. Now we're going to start talking about slopes as parallel and perpendicular lines. So our parallel lines are going to have the same slope. So if I know the slope of one of my lines, then I'm going to know the slope of my other line. Okay? Perpendicular lines are going to have negative reciprocal slopes. Now let's talk about what a negative reciprocal is. Okay? Negative reciprocal is the number we get when you flip the fraction and change the sign. So if I want to know the slope of a line that's perpendicular to another line, I'm going to take their slope, flip the fraction, and change the sign. So here's a few examples of flipping the fraction, changing the sign. Okay? 2 over 5, 2/5. Okay? What's the reciprocal of that fraction? Means I flip it. 5 over 2. Change the sign. It's positive, so I make that a negative 5/2. Flip the fraction, change the sign. Does that make sense? Flip the fraction, change the sign. Now, -7 is a whole number, right? So if I need to flip a fraction, I need to make that a fraction. So how do I make that a fraction? Yeah, put a 1 under it. Then I flip that and change the sign. What do you think I'm going to get? Positive 1/7. I flipped it to get -1/7. Change the sign is a positive. Does that make sense? Flip the fraction, change the sign. All right. So they're going to give us some points on a line, or on 2 lines. And we have to decide, are these lines parallel to each other? Well, what did we just write down about parallel lines? They have the same slope. So how do you think I'm going to know if these lines are parallel to each other? I'm going to find their slopes using that formula we just used, right? If those 2 numbers come out to be the same number, then they have the same slope, then they're parallel. Okay? So that's what I'm going to do. I've got to find the slope of each line. So I've got to find it for line M, and I've got to find it for line N. I'm going to do M in blue. Okay? So what is my formula for getting the slope? Good. Y2 minus Y1 over X2 minus X1. I'm going to label my points up here. XY, XY, 1, 1, 2, 2. Everybody with me? All right. What number is Y2? 1. Always put a minus there. What number is Y1? 3. Over 4 minus what? -1. Now, I know I have double negatives there. I'll fix that in a second. Okay? Then I subtract. 1 minus 3 is -2 over, that changes to 4 plus 1, right? Minus a negative changes to plus. 4 plus 1 is 5. So can that be simplified anymore, -2/5? No, that's all the way simplified. So my slope of my line M is -2/5. Okay? But I want to see if these lines are parallel. So I need to also find my slope of line N. Okay? I'm going to do that in red. Same formula. M equals Y2 minus Y1 over X2 minus X1. And I'm going to label my points again. XY, X and Y, 1, 1, 2, 2. All right, and I'm going to one at a time put those into my formula. What number is my Y2 number for line N? -3 minus, what is Y1? All right, I'm going to get my double negatives later. And then what is X2? Minus -2. All right, I got lots of double negatives to fix. So this changes to -3 plus 1, correct? Which is -2 over, that changes to 3 plus 2, which is 5. So my slope of line N is also -2/5. So are these lines parallel? Yes. So I can say yes, M is parallel to N. I'm using my symbol for parallel because I learned that yesterday. And plus, it's better than writing the word parallel. Trust me. Okay? So if you crank out their slopes and they're the same number, then yes, they're parallel to each other. So any questions about that? Okay. What is this one asking? That symbol means what? Perpendicular. Is A perpendicular to B? Well, what's important to know about perpendicular lines? Negative reciprocal slopes. So that means if I can take one of the two slopes, flip it upside down and change the sign, I should get the other one, right? So I'm going to do the same thing. I got to find both their slopes. You cannot do this without finding both slopes. Yes, I know that takes a while, but I don't really care. This will not be the most difficult problem you ever do in your life. Wait till Algebra 2. Yes, you do. Next year, buddy. I pray not. I have. Yes. Actually, there's a new teacher. Okay, we'll talk about it later. We'll table that discussion for another time. All right, so I want to see if they're perpendicular. First, I have to find both slopes. I'm going to do line A in blue. What's the formula for slope? M equals? All right, I'm going to label these. I'll do it above it. You can barely see it, but I'm going to do X, Y, X, Y, 1s, and then 2s. And y'all, I keep labeling these. I know you've done slope for a while, but there's still people in high school that still can't crank out a slope. So I'm doing that to make double sure we know what we're doing. Because it's important to the rest of this chapter. All right, so what number is my Y2 number? 5 minus what is Y1? 2 over 6 minus 0. And then we simplify. What is 5 minus 2? 3 over what's 6 minus 0? Does that reduce to what? 1/2. So the slope of line A is 1/2. Now I got to find the slope of line B. So is everybody okay with how we got the slope of line A? All right, so I'm going to do the same thing for line B. M equals Y2 minus Y1 over X2 minus X1. This is X and Y. This is X and Y. These are 1s. These are 2s. So what number is Y2? 0 minus Y1. 4 over what's X2? Plus U minus 2. Simplify. What is 0 minus 4? Over 4 minus 2. 2. What does that reduce to? Negative 2. Now, we know these are not parallel lines because the slopes are not the same, right? But did they ask me for parallel? What did they ask me? If they were perpendicular. How do I see if they're perpendicular? If I can flip them and change the sign and get the other one, then they're perpendicular, right? If I flip 1 over 2, I get 2 over 1, I change the sign, that's negative 2, isn't it? Yeah, so are A and B perpendicular to each other? Yes, I'm going to say yes, A is perpendicular to B. And I'm going to use my symbols because it takes up less space. And we need to learn our symbols. So upside down capital T is perpendicular. So if these were not, flip it, change the sign, it equaled that number. Say this was negative 5, you would just say not perpendicular. Okay? Got it? So if slopes are the same, parallel, slopes are negative reciprocals, they're perpendicular. If they're neither one, then you say no. It is. You've seen this before. Nope. I like proofs. All right, just something to note. You don't even have to write this down. The larger the number, or the larger the absolute value of a number is for your slope, the steeper it is. Okay, so something that has a slope of 5 is going to be a lot steeper of a line than something that has a slope of 1 or 1/2. Okay, so the higher your number for your slope, the more close to vertical that line will be. Okay, likewise, the lower the slope, the more horizontal it will be. Okay, so if you got like a really small fraction, like 1/10, okay, that's going to be like a barely even have a rise. Okay, it's really slanted. All right, this is where we need some graph paper. I'm going to pass out. Or a piece to everybody. I should have a minute for a piece for everybody. Even I've got this big stuff too. This is like fancy paper. Do what? One for notes, and then you'll probably need one for homework. Nope, you gotta do one for notes and one for homework. So I'm gonna give everybody 2 to start with. What? It's like paper sorting stuff. It's like, yeah, so you don't lick your fingers, and it's flu season. I don't lick my fingers. It feels like chapstick on your fingers. But chapstick would do the same thing. People use it in the bank to count money and stuff. Alright. Take 2 pieces and pass it. Does anybody here have their own? Okay, I got it.
Yeah, I want on the back. The back of it got some good clean pictures.
Alright. So everybody is coming. So go ahead and write down this example. I need to erase my dots. Yes, there's somebody behind you.
Oh, wait, we're supposed to have 2 pieces.
Get 2. One for notes, one for homework.
Are we going to get done before 2:30?
Not if you don't rush and start writing.
Oh, yeah.
We'll be done with my lesson, yeah, surely. But not if you don't hurry up and start writing. Not happening right now. Everybody got graph paper? And if y'all ever need any, I keep notebook paper over here on the top shelf on this little blue thing, graph paper on the second shelf. So hopefully we remember at least how to graph points, right? So this is my x's, left to right. These are my y's. The positive x's are over here. The negative x's are over here. Positive y's are up. Negative y's are down, right? Okay. So here's what's happening. They're going to give us 2 points that make one line. We have to figure out that slope and graph another line that goes through another point. Okay? So the first thing you need to do is do the first thing it tells you. Line H passes through the points 2, 5, and 5, 3. Y'all haven't drawn your axis yet, have you? I'll slow down. Go ahead and draw your axis. I copied and pasted mine because I didn't want to write on graph paper. No, mine are just 5 by 5. So. I didn't pick any points with a value greater than 5. Okay. So everything's within 5 and negative 5. So the first thing I'm going to do is graph line H. So I'm going to graph those 2 points, and then I'm going to draw a line through them. So 2, 5, I go the right 2 and up 5. And 5, 3, I go the right 5 and up 3. And then draw a line through them. And y'all don't want to draw little short squatty lines either. Draw kind of nice long lines. There's my line H. I'm going to call it H. Look up at me after you graph line H, please. All right, we want to graph a line that's parallel to this line. Okay? What do I know about parallel lines? The same slope. And they don't cross. You're right. Okay? But having the same slope is what's going to help us graph it. So if I can get the slope of this line, then I can get the slope of my line. Right? Now, if they give you a graph, the way you can get your slope is rise over run. We've heard of that before, right? Rise over run. So I'm going to write that down. M equals rise over run. Run means up or down. Rise means up or down. And run means you're going to the right. How many times you go to the right. Okay? Now we always graph points and lines left to right. So this point is on the left. This point's on the right. Do I rise up or down to get to the second point? Down how many times? 2. And to the right how many times? 3. So my rise over run is -2 over 3. Y'all see that? Because you go left to right, so you start on the point of the left. You want to get to the other point. You went down 2 to the right 3. So my slope is -2 over 3. Y'all see how I got that? Everybody understand how I got my slope? So if our line is going to be parallel to that line, then our slope will also be -2 over 3. Okay? So what I'm going to do, it says we want the graph of the line parallel to line H and passes through the point 2, 1. So you're going to graph the point 2, 1. Right 2 up 1. And then you're going to do that same slope. So where are you going to rise? Up or down? Down how many? And you're going to run to the right how many times? 3. There's my second point. And you draw a line through that. And those lines should not ever cross. And you're done. Okay, so just to recap, you take the 2 points for the line they tell you about, graph those 2 points, draw you a line, then do rise over run to get that slope. If you're parallel, you're going to use the same slope. So graph the point they tell you is on the other line, and then do rise over run from that point to get a second point. Okay? Let's do another one like this. Can I scroll? We good? So my red line is my answer. Okay? Go with me? The blue line is the line they gave me. My red line is my answer. All right. Similar. Like, y'all don't have to write like all of that. You might just want to be like, the first 2 is line H, and then the next point, if you want to. And then parallel is a key word there. So in the second, we're going to do perpendicular, which is harder. So go ahead and draw your X and Y axis. after you write what you're going to write down, and you can go ahead and graph line H if you want to. I'm going to get a drink of water. Line H. After you graph line H, look up and see if it looks like my line H. All right, so if I want to graph a line that's parallel to this one, I need it to have the what? Same slope. So I need to do rise over run to get this slope. Okay? So you're going to see how many times you go up or down and to the right. Okay? So is this one going up or down from left to right? It's going up. So my rise should be positive. Okay? So I start at this point because it's on the left, and I go up how many times? And I go to the right how many times? 4. So rise over run, I get 2 over 4. Y'all with me? Can we simplify that? What does 2 over 4 reduce to? A half. Okay? So if our slope for that blue line is a half, then my line that's parallel to it will also have a slope of 1/2. Got it? Okay? So my line that's parallel to it has to go through the point -2, -3. So the right or left 2 down 3 from the origin. And then I do rise over run for that one. So what do I rise? Up 1 to the right, how many? 2. And then you draw you a line, and they should not cross. So my red line is my answer. Y'all kind of see what we're doing here? We good? We good? Y'all, we've done rise over run for lots and lots of math classes. At least 3, because I'm sure you started this in at least 7th grade. We good? We good? All right, so there's 2 examples of us doing parallel lines. Now we're going to do some that are perpendicular to a line. Let everybody get this done. You good? All right. So the same kind of thing here. They're going to give us the points for a line, and we want to graph a line this time that goes through a certain point and is perpendicular to that line. Okay? So I would go ahead and write down line G in those 2 points, and then write down the next point and write down the word perpendicular, or the symbol for perpendicular if you want to. Just something to let you know that's what you're doing. So when you're looking at your notes, when you're doing your assignment a little bit, you'll be good. Okay, so I'm going to graph my points for line G. -5, 2. And then -2, 3. can y'all help me find the slope of line G here? Start the one on the left. I go up how many? And to the right how many? 3. So line G slope is 1 over 3. Rise up 1, to the right 3. Is everybody okay with that? Is our slope going to be 1 over 3? Are we going to have the same slope? No, we're going to be a perpendicular line. What kind of slope am I going to have compared to 1 over 3? The negative reciprocal of that, right? So I have to flip it and change the sign, which gets me negative 3 over 1, which is negative 3. So my slope needs to be negative 3. Now rise over run, I'm going to have to do it over 1, right? You got to run somewhere. So perpendicular, you're going to do the same thing except for you want the negative reciprocal slope. So I'm going to graph the point 0, negative 1, which is on the y-axis. And I'm going to go down 3 to the right 1. Down 3, right 1. And they're not going to cross right there, so I need to make sure I draw my line long enough so they do cross. Okay? So if your points don't make your lines cross, draw your line long enough so they do cross. And when they cross, this angle should look like a 90-degree angle. I mean, I know they're tilted sideways. They're not vertical and horizontal. But that should look like 90 degrees. Y'all see how this is going? Okay, so perpendicular lines is a little bit harder. You just got to flip and change the sign for the slope. Y'all want to just watch me do the next one? Okay, because sometimes you can learn just as much about, because I know it's a little tedious trying to graph and keep up. So can y'all just help me on this last one? Because it really is the last one. All right, line N goes through the point 0, 4, and 2, 1. Graph the line that goes through the point negative 2, 0, and is perpendicular to line N. So let me graph line N. 0, 4 is on the y-axis. 2, 1 is over here. So here's this line. Line N. Call you N. All right. What do I need to get from this line? Slope. So left to right. Do I go up or down? Up or down? Down how many? 1, 2, 3. And to the right how many? 2. So that slope is negative 3 over 2 using rise over run. Y'all agree? Now we're going to be perpendicular to that line. So what does our slope need to be? Flip it, change the sign, positive 2/3. Y'all see how my slope is going to be positive 2/3. All right, everybody with me? Now, I didn't say y'all didn't have to write this so you couldn't pay attention. Everybody needs to be stopping whatever they're doing and looking up here. All right? So my line that I need to do goes through the point negative 2, 0, which is on the x-axis right there, right? And to draw the line, I go up or down. Up how many? And to the right how many? 3. And I kind of can see them crossing right there. And then I draw that line. And it kind of looks like those would be right angles, doesn't it? So any questions about that? Okay, so your assignment, some of these are really, really easy. A lot of it's just practicing getting slope. The first 3 or 4, I think, are even matching. You're matching graphs to a positive, negative, 0, or undefined slope. So they're really simple. We're going to stop my video right now. Have a good day.